Well, like where to begin on this one? The So Democrats have polarized everybody into looking at the uh, alleged insurrection on January 6th as being Trump led a resurrection, tried to overthrow the government, and now some states have basically said we're kicking you off the ballot because we know an insurrection when we see one. And the Supreme Court ruled, did they rule that no, they don't think it's an insurrection? No. Did they rule that, Donald Trump specifically has like half the vote or something and that deserves? No, they didn't vote on any of that. The Supreme Court simply ruled, and the states knew they would rule this way. Everybody who looked at this honestly knew they would rule this way. So this isn't actually a story. This is a made up story. This is a distraction, a diversion by the Democratic Party to paint the system as being, evil, right, by Trump. So what the Supreme Court came back with, and let's just look at Wolf Blitzer's comment. Trump cannot be removed from any state's ballots for his actions on January 6th. Now, is that what the Supreme Court said? No. No, that's the way you'd put it if you want to polarize it, if you want to divert people's attention from the real issue. So that's just basically making it polarized partisan politics. The Republicans had a president or candidate, whatever, that looked to overthrow the government, and the Supreme Court sided with him that he couldn't be overthrown. But that's not what happened. So let's go to the 14th Amendment. So why do we have the 14th Amendment? Well, most legal scholars that I've read agree it's because of the Civil War. Like, what are you going to do if you have a civil war? Are you going to allow people that were in the South or whatever who are trying to secede from the nation or whatever? Are you going to allow them into government? And it's basically a way to prevent that. And it says no person should be senator or Congress or anyone. This isn't about the presidential campaign. Again, this is a distortion. It's like, oh, can a person run for president if they've done an insurrection? No. The 14th Amendment is not about the president in particular, like Donald Trump. It's about anybody seeking office. So the question is, can anybody seeking office get there if they were part of an insurrection? Again, this is an answer to the Civil War. So it says, they can't, if shall have engaged in insurrection or rebellion against the same, given aid or comfort to the enemies thereof. Now, again, that's if it's proven, right, in some court. And it has not been proven that Trump fomented an insurrection, right? It's still allegedly that he did this. And why it hasn't happened yet, the court, well, that's a whole other issue. But you can't just, look at that and then just throw this issue out. But it does say, but Congress may vote 2/3 of each house remove such a disability. So if they feel, oh, well, yeah, the person's part of an insurrection, but we think that they're okay, yeah, we'll allow it. And here they say, oh, well, the 14th Amendment is sort of about shifting more power to the federal government than the states. And that's always a big issue. How much power do the states have? How much power does the federal government have? And shows like The Daily Show and Colbert and all the rest of them, they pretend this isn't an issue. And they make jokes, again, just based on partisan, scorched earth, zero-sum politics, and just throw the rich heritage of our legal system and the Constitution under the bus. And I'm not talking about Constitution as a conservative or anything. I'm just saying just as a normal American. So where were we? Okay, so this was in the first paragraph. It says at the end, because the Constitution makes Congress, rather than the states, responsible for enforcing Section 3 against federal office holders, we reverse. And it was unanimous. It was just unanimous. And, you can read through again, why doesn't The Daily Show, why doesn't Jon Stewart, why don't they, Wolf Blitzer, why don't any of them just go read what was said? Why are they making up a story that isn't there? The justices were all like, the President of the United States, every American should have the right to vote for whatever president they want, no matter what state they're in. So you're going to basically now say, states are going to say, well, no, you can't vote for this guy. No. It doesn't work that way. separation of states' power and federal power, and each of one of us have dual citizenships in a sense, right? Or we have residency and citizenships. We're residents of our state, and we're subject to their laws, but we're also citizens of the country, and we're subject to our constitutional protections, which is to vote for anybody we want in any office. Again, not just president, any office. So this was like a slam dunk. This wasn't even hard for the Supreme Court. Nobody sat around there arguing that this would be the decision. They knew instantly. Again, everybody knew instantly. So for Wolf Blitzer to say, oh, well, Trump, did an insurrection and now the Supreme Court sided with him, and even though we have it in here that he shouldn't be able to get office, he's getting office. Like the Supreme Court is corrupted. It's for him. No, the Supreme Court in this case is not corrupted. They did what anybody would do. And let me see if there's anything interesting here. Now, actually, there is a lot of interesting in here. And this is, again, this is the humor they could have done. So basically, the court, the whole court agreed that you just have to throw it out because states cannot decide who's going to run for federal elections. And then a couple of the justices, the more liberal ones, the conservative ones, then went farther and said, well, because you can't really do the third section or whatever unless it's enforced by the fifth. And so they started to basically opine on what might be possible for a president to be removed from office in the future. And then the liberal justices were like, listen, you're saying too much. We all agree that when you decide a case for all judges in all places, you decide on the minimal amount of stuff you need to make the decision. You don't start to do opinions and say this and that. Like if for instance, in this case, like I said, that you can't, a state cannot stop a citizen from voting for a federal office holder. That's it. End of story. Say no more. There's nothing more to be said. Yeah, you can say more, but don't say it here. Don't try and put in sort of case law where nobody's asked you to put in case law, okay? We have our Constitution. We have the amendments. Yes or no, can the states do it? No, that's all we need to say. But you're going on, you're trying to set a precedent for future cases. So you're sort of, making law on your own. So anyway, there is that sort of struggle in the court. So everybody agreed with the decision, but not everybody agreed with the logic of this case. But the thing that really cracks me up, and again, this is comedy gold if you ask me, is Justice Barrett's her little piece of what she wanted to put separately in this agreement. And she says, blah, 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 that she agrees. And then she says, the majority's choice of a different path leaves the remaining justices with a choice of how to respond. In my judgment, this is not the time, it's right here, not the time to amplify disagreement with stridency. First of all, it's a horrible sentence. What do you mean, amplify disagreement with stridency? It's like the worst sort of writing, like any English teacher would like, this is a Supreme Court justice and she can't even write in clear, simple, articulate English. Okay, blah, blah, blah. The court has settled a politically charged issue in the volatile session of the presidential election. Why is she writing opinions here? Why does this matter? This has nothing to do with anything. The Supreme Court is supposed to be objective. They're not supposed to be looking at the outside world, what's going on. It has nothing to do with it. It's a simple case. Is this constitutional or is this not constitutional? And when justice starts writing in this about, what's going on in the outside case, they're basically saying they're biased, right? If you're recognizing that there's a bias and you're writing about the bias, how can you not be biased, right? And then she writes, particularly in this circumstance, writing on the court should turn the national temperatures down, not up. She's not a politician. The Supreme Court has no business in our national temperature, in my temperature. Well, my temperature is up or down, none of your business. You're not there. My taxpayers are not paying for you to sit in the Supreme Court and worry about my temperature. You just worry about what you believe is right or wrong based on your reading of the constitutions, laws, whatever, and you write it in your thing, and that's all I want to hear from you. We get enough from politicians, and Amy Bryant's got to be like spewing this nonsense. It's like juvenile. Anyway, she goes, for present purposes, our differences are far less important than our unanimity. Forget whatever. All 9 justices agree on the outcome of this case. This is the message Americans should take home. What message? What message? See, she's trying to say, like, we are for Donald Trump. You should take the message that we're backing him. That is a way you could read it. She may not have meant it that way, but this is superfluous. This has no business in any Supreme Court writings. That she should say what message we should take home about what they're writing. No. The message is in what you decide. It's in your judgment. And if you have a message in your judgment, again, we don't want to hear it. We want to read it for ourselves. You make the argument for whatever the situation is here. And the situation here was very simple. It really was not about Donald Trump. It was about can states keep people off federal ballots? The Supreme Court said easily no. And so Barrett is writing, this is the message you should take home? Like, what message? It shouldn't be any message. I mean, if she wanted to say a message, she would say something like, it has nothing to do with Trump, talk about that main issue, but you can see how she's politically polarized. And again, oh my God, I'm already 11 minutes. Again, this is comedy. This could be comedy gold. There's so much that the Daily Show could make of this, but nobody sees it. Nobody sees it.
Really, let that be a lesson to all you out there who might be thinking about subverting the Constitution in a presidential election. You go, boy.
Okay, let's look at what he said. So Stewart says, lesson to all you out there who might be thinking about subverting the Constitution in a presidential election. You go, boy. Now, see, again, the Democratic Party has twisted this. There was the first election between Trump and Biden. And yes, you can make a case that he subverted the Constitution to get that election thrown out. But we're now at another election. And he has not subverted the Constitution, as far as I can see, during this election. Right? So he tried to subvert the election in 2020, and he failed. Biden became president. And now he's running again against Biden, and he is not subverting the Constitution at the moment. I don't see how he is. But again, the Democrats want to conflate this. It's just sort of like Russiagate. They keep wanting to pound on this thing that happened in the past. And yes, ultimately, I hope that some court will decide whether it was an insurrection or not. But until then, it actually has nothing to do with today. He may or may not have tried an insurrection at the 2020 election, but that really has nothing to do. Should it really have anything to do with the 2024? Or does the Supreme Court finding, is that really what it's saying? That he's subverting the Constitution now? Well, of course, they said no, he's not. Or even if he is, it's not. It's for the Congress to decide. So again, it's just this, it's political polarization, and Stewart is not careful in his language. He's not reading the script and fighting back and saying, hey, listen, this is a little bit too much partisan. I don't want to be part of the problem. And this is the problem with Stewart for a long time. I like him. A lot of people like him. I love him. He's a great guy. But the one thing I do not like about him is that whenever he has a little bit of criticism, like all comics probably, he's thin-skinned, and he pulls up I'm just a comic. I'm just a comic. Yet he wants to do the book reviews. He wants to talk about serious subjects, right? And a lot of Daily Show is not comedy, it's just serious subjects. You can't have it both ways. You can't talk about these serious things, and then when you do sloppy work and you're just part of you're complicit in political hackery, that when somebody calls you on it, then just play the comedian card. And he's been playing the comedian card for a long time. He's too old for that. He shouldn't be doing that. He's too old. He's not a young guy anymore. So when he's given this joke by the writing team to me, I don't know, I would have pushed back because I think you're just part of the problem. You're just radicalizing and polarizing everybody. You're just making it good against. And there's no joke here. I mean, it's a joke, but it's like a lame joke. It's a joke to people that don't know anything about the Constitution or law or anything. That just like have a knee-jerk reaction that they don't like Trump. Ugh.
Criminals, rapists, murderers, child predators, and God knows who else.
God knows who else? I mean, statistically, a couple of them at least have to be podcasters. I mean...
That's the joke?
Murderers. But point taken. I think my pants just shit their pants.
That joke is mind-blowing to me. Jon Stewart and I are the same age, 62. My pants shit my pants is a joke literally for a 6 or 7-year-old. I don't know, 10-year-old? I don't even know. I'm so far beyond that. That Jon Stewart would actually repeat that joke, would say that joke, that one, I don't even get it's funny. I mean, do you think it's funny? And that two, it's just, I think it's beneath the dignity of a 60-year-old. It's just stupid. It's not a, I mean, I don't even know if a 7-year-old would like it. I guess they would. I mean, those are viewers they're trying to attract. So I hear him repeat those jokes, and I just feel like, again, he's coming for the paycheck. He's not pushing back on anything. He's cynicism defined.
None of these cases go their way. There is still another avenue to pursue.
The getting more votes scenario.
So I'm not going to go into all these other clips. It's driving me crazy. It's probably driving me crazy. Is anybody even watching this after 16 minutes? Anyway, his point about, the Democrats could get more votes. He does actually call back to that later, but he never actually really addresses that. So, I mean, I would make the argument that the Democrats, just like the Republicans, work by polarizing everyone, diverting everybody's attention from any real issues, and they'll both sort of split the government 50-50 as they have for a while. And that's what works for both of them. Later in the video, that they do the joke on how New York basically starts saying, we don't have enough room for migrants and whatever, and they're not sticking to their principles. But the Daily Show doesn't really address the humor that nobody's really has any principles or sticking to their principles. But the deeper thing for me is the Daily Show, in my opinion, works by pandering to viewers who want very simple solutions to problems. Viewers that generally have white-collar jobs, that Google, Facebook, whatever, that are doing very well, are city people, are really the lucky part of our country. And the Republicans and MAGA are really the disenfranchised and the unlucky part of the country. And if you call them on it, if Jon Stewart were to say, hey, listen, all of us, we need to raise taxes a little bit to help pay for these migrants. That's what he should say, I feel. And because that is what he says. So one of the two causes that he's been very deeply involved in are the first responders at 9/11 who inhaled all the stuff and got sick. So he's been championing, working for them to get the money for their health care. And then the burn pits for the military, again, trying to get the money for the health care. And when he does that stuff, by the way, he doesn't go into his Republican stuff. And this is how he's two-faced, right? So when he's actually trying to get benefits for these people, he doesn't politicize. He doesn't take sides, which he shouldn't. And again, this is what makes him a great guy. He works hard to use his celebrity to try and get us to properly treat people that were first responders at 9/11, people in our military, who were in Iraq and burn pits and stuff like that. Again, that's all great. And when he does that, he goes after Congress. He says, listen, we need the money. He doesn't say, oh, it's the Republicans' fault or the Democrats' fault, because he knows it's everybody's fault. It's everybody's fault that we're not sharing well in this country, that the wealthier people are keeping more money and not giving enough to those people, again, who worked at burn pits, 9/11, whatever. But he'll never say that on the show, never even get close to saying it. I mean, sort of will do it like, oh, Democrats can do it, but doesn't do it. So that's sort of why I'm doing this channel video for this election cycle for while he's on it, because not because I dislike him, but because if he can't do it, nobody else can, right? He has the celebrity and the likability and the whatever that he can do something. And he's not going to change the world. He's not going to be able to turn Comedy Central into a how are we going to fix the world honestly, humor show. I mean, I can do it. But the question is, how much can he push it? And like in this show, Biden does a thing and he does a joke. He says, oh, I take everything back that I'd said before. Why? Why are you taking it back? I'm not saying you have to, say, oh, he's okay. But you don't say anything. When they give you that joke, I'm taking it back, you say, no, I'm not taking back that joke. I meant what I said it, and let's just get past it. But instead, he sinks back into the corruption of the Daily Show, which again is to basically just be a party hack for the Democrats and to help its audience, pander to the audience, that they can feel superior to everybody else because the Republicans, do all this goofy stuff. Anyway, this particular episode is a killer for me. So I just have to end this here and go on to other stuff. If you followed me this far, please let me know in the comments what you think. Am I just wasting my time here?